Hey, how y'all doing out there? I'm back again with another video. Today I'd like to do a comparison between the OnePlus 7T Pro and the OnePlus 8 Pro. Should you upgrade from the 7T Pro to the 8 Pro? Now this also includes the 7 Pro. I don't have that, but it's pretty much this is the same device except I think an extra camera and the 855 Plus, but that's pretty much it. Pretty much the 7T Pro is the same as the 7 Pro, so you can add that along with it. Now, should you upgrade? Well, I'm not going to make you wait to the end, but I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you if you're considering, if you're even thinking about upgrading from the 7 Pro or the 7T Pro to the 8 Pro, I'm going to say you should upgrade and it's definitely worth the upgrade. Now, that doesn't mean just because I said you should upgrade that you're going to upgrade or that you're just going to make that decision based on what I'm saying. But I'm telling you, it's a worthy upgrade. Now, with a lot of different phones, during the years, like sometimes it's not a worthy upgrade from year to year. Sometimes it's like every other year or every 2 years. But everybody's different. It depends on your flavor. Some people like the latest and greatest, so they upgrade every year. Some people, they want to hold on to their phone. They might upgrade every other year. And then you have those people that upgrade every 2 to 3 years. But I will say this. To upgrade to the 8 Pro from the 7 Pro or the 17 Pro is definitely worth the upgrade because they added so much to the 8 Pro. So it's definitely worth it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, no performance issues out of the 7T Pro at all. It's a great device. Now, you don't have to upgrade if you like everything about it and you don't care about what this has to offer, then stick with your 7T Pro. But let me give you the reasons why I think the 8 Pro is a worthy upgrade. First thing is the price. Now, with the 7T Pro, it's going to cost considerably less money than that of the 8 Pro because this phone was released last year. This phone was released a couple of years ago, so of course it's going to be cheaper. So you can find this on eBay for just a little over $300, literally. So it's a much cheaper device. This one you can probably find it for just a little over $500, brand new. So it's going to be more, not a ton more, but more. So that's the first thing. So if you're looking to save money, and if it's just about money in your budget, I would say go with the 7T Pro. But if money is not that big of an issue and you don't mind spending a little bit more, then I would say go with the 8 Pro. Now, let's talk about build quality. Now, both have Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and the back with an aluminum frame. So build quality is pretty much exactly the same. Now, there is subtle differences in the build quality, and let me explain that now. The 7T Pro is a little heavier than that of the 8 Pro. The 8 Pro is considerably lighter than the 7T Pro. Now, I like the weight distribution on the 7T Pro better because I like heavier phones, but everybody don't like heavy phones. They might like something a little lighter. So if you're the type of person that, you get hand fatigue really quickly from holding the phone to your ear on the phone or just holding your hand and it's too heavy and you get hand fatigue or arm fatigue, then you definitely want to consider the 8 Pro because it's definitely lighter. Also, you can see the dimensions that the 7T Pro is a slightly wider device than that of the 8 Pro. Now, initially, I was not going to even consider the 8 Pro because I thought it was going to be really narrow. The way it was looking on reviews that I was looking at, it just looked considerably more narrow than the 7T Pro. But after I got it in person, I noticed that it's not that narrow, honestly. I mean, really, it's slightly narrower, but not to the point where I wouldn't like the look of it and it would irritate me. So that's also a difference with the build quality. The next thing, subtle differences with the build quality. Both have a frosted matte back, but the 7T Pro is a lot more slippery than that of the 8 Pro. So you're not going to get any fingerprints on either of these devices, but the 7T Pro is like holding a bar of soap in your hand, and the 8 Pro is a little bit better. It's still a little slippery, but not as slippery as the 7T Pro. Next, also with the build quality, just subtle differences. With the 7T Pro, When I hold it in my hand, it feels a little sharper in my hand. Excuse me. But with the 8 Pro, it's a little more rounded off. So the 8 Pro is a lot more comfortable in my hand when I'm holding the phone. 17 Pro is definitely not. I like the weight of it, but it just has a sharpness to it in my hand. It's not comfortable to hold in my hand for long periods of time. So for me, the 8 Pro is much more comfortable. So those are all the differences when it comes to the build quality. All right, next let's talk about design. Now, as you can see, they're somewhat similar because they both have the camera in the middle, but the camera module is considerably larger on the 8 Pro. And also you can see some extra stuff going on the side of the camera with the color filter and all that stuff. You don't have that on the 17 Pro. All right, so that's the subtle differences also when it comes to design. Both have the alert slider. The buttons are pretty much the same. So this is the only design change really is the way that the back looks around the camera module. That's pretty much it. Okay. And as you can see, the OnePlus is just looks, that just looks a little different, but everything else is pretty much the same. All right. So those are the difference with the build quality and the design. Now let's talk about the display. Let me turn both of these on. All right. So let's talk about that display. Now with the OnePlus 7T Pro, you're getting a 6.67-inch Quad HD AMOLED 90 Hz fluid display with HDR10 plus 516 pixels per square inch. It's an all-display device with no intrusion, and it's a little wider than that of the 8 Pro, which I mentioned earlier. And for some weird reason, to me, it feels a little smoother when scrolling. Now, this display is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's bright. It's vibrant. Quad HD, 90 Hertz. But as you can see, sorry for the notifications. As you can see, as I get a little closer, you have no intrusion on this display. No punch out, no notch, no nothing. All display. And it's curved, and there's no bezels. It's basically a completely bezel-less display. So for those of you that love that and been wanting that all your life, I would say if you just don't like punch holes and you're waiting for that under the display camera, you're just waiting for that, then I say stick with the 7T Pro. Now, having a little punch hole for me really don't bother me. I do love this, but you got the pop-up selfie. Now, there's some people that really like that. There's some people that don't. As you can see right there, you got the pop-up selfie right there. So that affords people some extra privacy. Some people like that. Some people don't. They don't like that. It's a mechanism. They feel as though it could break. I mean, anything's possible. I mean, things break. I mean, anything, man-made is subject to breakdown. But I really like that pop-up selfie, and it's really good and it's real accurate. But like I said, the punch hole don't bother me. So when it comes to display on this, it's absolutely beautiful. Gets relatively bright. So let's look at the 8 Pro. Now with the 8 Pro, you got a 6.78 inch. So it's just slightly taller than that of the 7T Pro. It's a Quad HD Plus Fluid AMOLED display with 120 Hertz refresh rate. So they upped it to 120 Hertz. Now, I don't see a difference between 90 and 120, honestly, but it is 120. Now, it does have HDR10 plus 513 pixels per square inch. So it's just a 3 pixels less than that of the 7T Pro, which is not a big deal. But the thing that separates this display from that of the 7T Pro is this has motion graphics smoothing. And what that means, it makes when you're viewing video content, it makes everything you're looking at super, super smooth, and it looks so real till it looks like it's, like you're looking at a movie. It looks like they're like jumping out of the screen, or it doesn't look like a movie. It looks like you're there in real life. Like I can't explain it. If you watch my review on the 8 Pro, then you'll see the example when I show the movie. It just looks so crystal clear and so real till it looks like you're there when they're filming it. It doesn't look like it's on film. It just looks real. So That's the edge that the display has on the 17 Pro. This is a better display, period, and it gets way more brighter. It gets a lot brighter than that of the 17 Pro. Now let me show you what I mean. I'll prove it.
That would be icing on the cake.
Let me go back, fix something on here. Okay, so I'm gonna show you both. Make sure they're set up. All right. Now, keep in mind that the 17 Pro is at max when it comes to brightness. Now, I don't know if you can tell. Let me put this one at max brightness too, because it wasn't there originally, but I'm going to put both at max brightness. Now, I've always kept the 17 Pro at max brightness. So if you look real close, you should be able to see that the 8 Pro is brighter. I know I can see it. I hope you can too. All right. But both have beautiful displays, but that motion graphic smoothing is what sets this apart. And also, remember this. This comes with a pre-installed screen protector. You didn't get that on the 17 Pro. That was one of the issues I had with this device, that they didn't put a screen protector on there. But they did put a pre-installed screen protector on this one. Now, I did take it off only because I was having issues with the fingerprint sensor, and I thought maybe taking that off would make it work better. But I was wrong. It still doesn't work very well at all. So when it comes to the display, there's definitely a better display on the 8 Pro. It's brighter, and that motion graphic smoothing, once you start watching media content on this phone, you're not going to ever want to look at it on any other phone. It's just that beautiful. Even better than my Note 10 Plus and my S20 Ultra, and that has 120 hertz refresh rate, but it doesn't have that motion graphic smoothing that takes this display to a whole nother level. Next, let's talk about IP rating. All right. Now, the 17 Pro has no water and dust resistant rating, even though OnePlus has said that it is tightly sealed and it can resist water like a splash or something. But the 8 Pro is IP68 water and dust resistant, meaning you could put it in 5 feet of water, submerge it in 5 feet of water for 30 minutes, and it will be fine. You can't do that with the 17 Pro. Okay, so this phone finally has that certification that so many people have been wanting. Now, I'm not saying everybody cares about IP68 water and dust resistance, because everybody don't. But for those of you that like being around water, especially in the summertime, those of you that, you can't be without your phone, you in the bathroom with it, you in the shower with it, you in the bathtub with it. If you drop it in the water, you ain't got to worry about it with the 8 Pro. Can't do that with the 17 Pro. So keep that in mind. You could just have the phone in your pocket, in your front pocket, and say you're washing dishes, and you lean over and it slips out and it falls into the water. This thing is going to get seriously damaged unless you can get it out, dry it off extremely quick before any water gets in and damages it. But you don't have to worry about that with the 8 Pro. So advantage 8 Pro on that. Next thing, let's talk about chipset and performance. So you got the 17 Pro with the 855, the Snapdragon 855 Plus, and with the 8 Pro you got the Snapdragon 865. So of course the 8 Pro is going to have the newer chipset. But when it comes to performance, they're pretty much even, except the 8 Pro is a tad bit faster, and that's only because it has the newer processor. But when it comes to performance overall, they're pretty much even. They both perform great. I mean, excellent, awesome, super fast, smooth, but the 8 Pro is just a slight bit faster. That's it. All right. Next, let's talk about RAM management. Now, the 17 Pro has 8 gigs of RAM, and the OnePlus 8 Pro has 12 gigs of RAM. So the only disadvantage to me, and it's not a real big disadvantage, is that the 17 Pro with 8 gigs didn't have a bigger variant. Like 8 gigs was all you were getting. Now, I know with the 7 Pro, they had a 12 gig variant, but with the 17 Pro, they only gave you an 8 gig variant. With the 8 Pro, you do get an 8 gig variant and also a 12 gig variant, and that's the one I wanted, was 12 gigs, because it's going to allow the phone to run even better, and you could hold more apps open in the background for those of you that matters to me. All right, so advantage the 8 Pro. Next, let's talk about internal storage. Now, you got the 17 Pro has 256 gigs of internal storage. And you got the OnePlus 8 Pro, also has 256 gigs of storage. Now, this one did not come with the 128 gig variant. I think it was, I believe it was just 256 gigs. And of course, the 8 Pro has 128 and a 256 gig variant. So you can get 256 on both devices when it comes to internal storage. Next, let's talk about the always on display. So it's not really a whole lot to talk about with that. 7T Pro does not have the always on display. It does have the ambient display, meaning you lift the weight and you can see it. But once you put it down and after a few seconds, it goes black. With the 8 Pro, you have a always on display that you can see all the time except the fingerprint sensor. And this is something I've always wanted OnePlus to implement on their phones. They had it, I believe, on the 6T was the last time they implemented it. But then they removed it, which I don't know why, but I'm glad they put it back. So that's a big deal to me. I need an always on display because a lot of times I have my phone sitting down and I want to look at it. You know, I want to, I want to look at it. So I like the fact that it's on there. So I prefer a device with always on display. You're going to get that with the 8 Pro. All right. Next, let's talk about the in-display optical fingerprint sensor. Both have it, but 7T Pro's fingerprint sensor for me, has been absolutely flawless. This fingerprint sensor on the 8 Pro absolutely sucks. It does not work well at all. When the only advantage that this phone has when it comes to the fingerprint sensor, and I'm gonna show you real quick and wait for it to go out, is that you can use it with the screen being off. You know, you don't have to double tap or raise the weight in order to get the fingerprint sensor to come on and for you to use it. You could just use it, just put your finger right on there and it turns on. Now, it's just not accurate. I'm telling y'all right now, for me, it's been a nightmare. It's to the point now where I'm pretty much thinking about turning it off completely and just use a passcode because it's just that annoying. Or just use or the passcode and the face unlock. But with the 7T Pro, I have never had an issue with the fingerprint sensor. Not one time. Completely flawless. Works with all my apps that require fingerprint. This one will not work with any of my other apps that require fingerprint, like my banking app, PayPal, other things that I've, put in place where I can use a fingerprint. It won't work. So I don't know what in the world OnePlus did with the fingerprint sensor, but on the 8 Pro, at least the one I have, it's really bad. And it needs a serious update immediately because it's terrible. So I don't like the fingerprint sensor on the 8 Pro at all. It's not good. Now, that something like that might turn somebody off and say, well, I don't want it. But like I said, you can use the face unlock, which is still super fast, and you can still use a PIN code, or you can use a pattern. So you got options. All right, let's talk about dual stereo speakers. Now, both have dual stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos, but I'm going to tell you right now, the 8 Pro has way better speakers. I mean, they've been vastly improved. They're louder and they have more, they're clearer. They have more depth of sound. Just sounds much better. The ones on the 7T Pro are not bad at all. Don't get me wrong. They're not bad, but the 8 Pro's speakers are better. They just are. All right, let's talk about face unlock. Now, of course, you got the pop-up selfie with that of the 7T Pro, as you can see, and I'll show you that it's no slouch, works relatively fast for a pop-up. And that's behind the camera, so that's not bad. But as you can see, some people may worry, well, I don't know how long that mechanism gonna last. Might break down, might slow down. It's possible. But when you're dealing with the 8 Pro, you also have one, but you can see how fast it is because it's built right into the display. So it really don't take no time to come on. I'm talking about half a second. So the fingerprint sensor on the 8 Pro is vastly superior to that of the 7T Pro, if that matters to you. Now, I use Face Unlock, so it matters to me. And I want to be able to get into my phone as quickly as possible. Now let's talk battery life. So the OnePlus 7T Pro has a 4,085 milliamp battery, and the 8 Pro has a 4,510 milliamp battery. So battery life on OnePlus devices are always great. I've never had an issue with battery life on any of their devices, but when it comes to battery life, it's very subjective, and it's always going to depend on how you use your phone. So if you're shooting a lot of video, you're going to go through the battery quicker. But if you just take pictures, if you just going on social media, watch some YouTube videos, watch some movies on directly from your phone, stream some stuff off of Netflix, you'll easily get through a full day with both of these devices. Now, however, with the OnePlus 7T Pro, I can get 2 days out of this phone. That's with 100% brightness. That's with Quad HD Plus resolution, and that's with 90 hertz enabled. 2 days. And that's using the phone heavy. So this phone is an absolute monster. Okay. Now, with the OnePlus 8 Pro, you're also getting great battery life. I usually average about a day and a half. Now, but keep in mind, that's 97% brightness, because I don't need it to be 100% because it's a brighter display anyway. 97% brightness, Quad HD Plus with 120 hertz refresh rate, and the motion graphics smoothing enabled also on top of that. A day and a half. So this one gets a little bit better only because it's not using 120 hertz and not using that graphics smoothing. But this is using all of those things and still getting a day and a half. Now, I've gotten this to 2 days, but on average, normally, and using it heavy like I do, easily a day and a half. So both phones are great, but you're going to get a little bit more battery life with the 7T Pro. Now, if you put this on 60 hertz full HD, 60 hertz full HD plus, this is going to last longer because it's a bigger battery. But I didn't buy this phone to use 60 hertz and full HD plus. No, if it has Quad HD plus with 120 hertz and the motion graphics smoothing, I'm using it. I use my phone at max. But if you're that concerned about battery life, you can always scale down to 60 hertz full HD. You can do the same thing with the 8 Pro, 60 hertz full HD plus, and get even more battery life out of your device. It's up to you. But both are great. Next, let's talk about super fast wired charging. Both offer 30-watt warp charging. Both are adequately quick, so there's no real separation with that. It's the same speeds. Let's talk about fast wireless charging. With the 7T Pro, you're not getting any wireless charging at all for those that matter. But with the 8 Pro, you are getting not only fast wireless charging, but 30-watt fast wireless charging. So the wireless charging on this is an absolute beast. I'm waiting for my stand to get here. I should get it this week, and I'll do a short, quick video on that and test the speed of it. But I'm getting that because I love wireless charge. I love to be able to take my phone, sit it on a dock, let it charge, just take it off and go. I don't have to plug in and unplug anything. I like that. So wireless charging is a must for me, especially if it's a flagship device. I want wireless charging. You're not going to get that on the 7T Pro. Next, let's talk about power share, aka reverse wireless charging. So you're not getting that on the 7T Pro, but you are getting reverse wireless charging on the 8 Pro. That means you can basically take a phone that has wireless charging, and put it on the back of this phone and give it some charge. Now it's slow; it's only 3 watts, so you don't really want to use a phone, but you can take a smartwatch. You can use that. You can use some wireless earbuds that you could charge wirelessly, and it'll charge those. So it's too slow to use to try to charge up somebody's phone, but definitely a smartwatch and some wireless earbuds will work. That's something that the 7T Pro don't have now. There's a lot of people out there that may feel like that's a gimmick anyway. They're never going to use it, so they don't care. But I had to mention that because that's something that the 7T Pro does not have. Next, let's talk about audio quality. Now, neither one of these have a headphone jack, so you got to go through the USB Type-C port. For what I've heard, the 7T Pro audio quality was just blah. It was okay. Didn't really enjoy it all that much, but OnePlus 8 Pro, they considerably improved the audio quality of this device. It sounds really good. I mean, to the point now, I can go to the gym with this phone, plug in my Panasonic headphones, and rock out and be satisfied and get really good sound quality. So the audio sound quality on the 8 Pro is better than that of the OnePlus 7T Pro. Next, let's talk about expandable storage. Neither has expandable storage. Now, for me, that's the one thing OnePlus is still missing out on when it comes to flagship features. That's the one thing they need to add to their devices. And if you're not going to do that, give us a 512 gig variant and a 1 terabyte variant. If you're not going to give us expandable storage, give us a larger variant. Enough with the 256 gigs is not enough, especially with these phones being able to shoot 4K at 60, 8K video. We need more storage. 256 gigs is not enough, especially somebody like me that has between 17 and 18 gigs in apps alone. That's just apps. That ain't counting my movies that I want to put on here, all my photos and all that stuff I want to put on there. It's not enough. So OnePlus, please either give us expandable storage or give us a larger variant at 512 and a gigabyte. Start off with 256, not this 128. The 128 need to go away, especially with $1,000 phone. Forget about 128. 256, 512, and 1 terabyte. Then I'd be cool with that. Next, let's talk about the cameras. Okay? Now, not to get super technical, but the 7T Pro has 3 cameras on the rear, as I showed you earlier, and the 8 Pro has 4 cameras on the rear. Now, to me, both have 3 because the color filter on the 8 Pro is completely worthless to me. I mean, I don't use it. It really doesn't serve any purpose, honestly. So I'm just eliminating that, but it does have it on there. But I would say 3 and 3. Now, both devices shoot at 4K at 30 and 60 on the rear, and 1080p at 30 and 60 frames per second on the rear. Optical image stabilization. So, but no 4K recording on the selfie on either device, which is a disappointment. But when it comes to just overall photo quality and video quality, there's no contest. The 8 Pro is just better. This was the first phone OnePlus finally put flagship cameras on their device. The cameras on this device are great, seriously. Now, check out my OnePlus 8 Pro full review, and you'll see the photos that I took and the video I took with this phone. This phone is great when it comes to photos. Photos and videos, I have no issues with this device. I just don't. They take great. The camera on here is not terrible, but it's kind of like mediocre for the kind of quality that I want, and the clarity and the sharpness and the punchy colors. This 8 Pro just takes way better photos and videos. It just does. Like I said, this ain't trash, but it's not flagship quality. It's just not. All right. Now, OnePlus has improved the 8 Pro in 13 categories over that of the 7T Pro. Okay, let me tell you what they are. First, the build quality. And what I meant by that is what I said earlier. Less slippery, more comfortable in the hand. Fingerprint sensor. Only in the sense that you can activate the sensor without turning on the display. Other than that, the 7T Pro's fingerprint sensor is better. Always on display. You're getting always on display. You're not getting always on display on the 7T. The display. You're getting a brighter display and 120 Hz refresh rate plus motion graphic smoothing and a pre-installed screen protector. You're not getting that on the 7T Pro. Next, the dual stereo speakers. They're louder and they sound better on the 8 Pro. Next, wireless charging, and not just wireless charging, but 30-watt wireless charging, that of the 8 Pro. You're not getting any wireless charging on the 7T Pro. Next, reverse wireless charging. You're not getting that on the 7T Pro. You do get that on the 8 Pro. Next, 4,510 milliamp battery. You're getting a larger battery with that of the 7T Pro. And if you scale this down to 60 Hertz and Full HD Plus, this is going to last longer because it's a larger battery. Next, both have Android 11. Both will receive Android 12. However, the 8 Pro is going to receive Android 13. All right. Next, the 8 Pro has 12 gigs of RAM. That's an improvement. Better audio quality, and has flagship cameras. So those are all the categories that the 8 Pro is better and has been improved over the 7T Pro. So at the end of the day, should you upgrade from the 7 Pro or the 7T Pro to the 8 Pro? I would say absolutely. It's definitely worth the upgrade. It wasn't like they just upgraded it in 5 or 6 categories. They upgraded it in 13 categories. So it's a definite worthy upgrade than that of the 7T Pro. Like I said, the 7T Pro has given me no problems at all. It works great. Beautiful display, excellent performance, great battery life, great build quality, nice speakers. I mean, I haven't had any issues with this. And like I said, the fingerprint sensor, flawless. But no wireless charging, which was a big deal for me. No IP68 water and dust resistance. Speakers need an improvement. They got an improvement. Audio was not that great at all. Cameras were not flagship cameras. So, and that motion graphic smoothing, the picture quality on this is great, but they just took it to another level with the 8 Pro. So for me, it's definitely worth upgrading to the 8 Pro. It really is, honestly. Now, whether you do or not, it's up to you, depending on your financial situation, or you may not feel as though it is a worthy upgrade. But I'm just being honest. My opinion, I think is definitely a worthy upgrade from the 7 Pro or the 7T Pro to that of the 8 Pro. Now, some people will jump from these right to the 9 Pro. I would say it's not worth it to me, honestly. Not that the 9 Pro is bad, but I heard that phone's having some heating issues. And also, it's a design change, but I don't think the 9 Pro is a vast improvement over the 8 Pro. I just don't. And this phone is going to be cheaper than the 9 Pro. So that was my comparison between the 7T Pro and the 8 Pro OnePlus. So I appreciate you taking the time to view this content. Please like and subscribe. I will be giving away another smartphone once I reach 2,000 subscribers. So please stick around for that. If you want to see more content, please hit that subscribe button so you will be notified when I upload another video. Thank you for taking the time to view this content, and I'll check you guys out in the next one. Peace.